What's up, guys? Ethan Ken with Hack Lab. Alright, we got it in the air. Gonna take the CV shaft out, get this thing started. We already broke the CV shaft bolt free. The wheel's stuck on because obviously it's been sitting for a long time and it has no studs, so you know we gotta hit it off. But we're gonna get that going, so follow us through the time lapse. Alright guys, so as you can see, the head of the Allen bolt that holds the cup in, that goes into the diff, you can see the head right there, so we got really lucky that it didn't shear in half. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna take that out. We should be able to use a magnet to pull the rest of it out, and we should be good to see what's going on.
We broke so this is the cup in two pieces. That piece is supposed to be on there. And it looks like it broke right at that seam. No real reason we can tell. That's it.
Yeah.
The bolt goes through there.
The bolt right here slides in the middle. So as you guys see, the bolt didn't break in half. It's still good, and it slips right in the middle there.
And all the splines are good. There's no chattering on the bearing surfaces. Everything just looks good. Just snapped. So hopefully it didn't snap because of any opposing resistances in the diff. I doubt it because it's turning smoothly, but we'll see when we put the new one in. That's it.
Yeah.
Okay, so we got this cup bolted back in. Everything feels as tight as it can be, but we still have some backlash in and out. So we're not exactly sure if that's normal. The back diff, which is completely different from this, but the back diff when we pull on it it's pretty tight. This has a little bit of in and out play. It doesn't affect the other side when we pull it in and out, but the other side also has the same amount of play. So we're not sure if that's normal or not. Before we put any pressure on it of actually driving, we're probably going to just dry run it on the lift and see if everything turns without grinding or making any weird noises. That's where we're at now. We're going to tackle the starter so we can actually hear it start and turn the wheels and see what it's like.
Yeah, so here's the little crazy setup we have going on here, right? So we have our tool cart here, and then we have 4 blocks of wood supporting a jack stand. And the reason we're doing it that way is, alright, I don't have a good view of the starter from back here, and I'm not gonna navigate and do craziness. But what we have to do in order to get the starter out with the lock carrier and everything in is, this is the motor mount right here. That's obviously the center bolt for it. So this is the motor mount support right here that it bolts into the subframe. Sorry, I got something on my finger. It bolts into the subframe. So what we have to do is we have to unbolt this from the subframe, unbolt the motor mount. But so obviously the motor is going to collapse a little bit. That's why we have this setup. Then we have the piece of wood going across the oil pan to offer it support. And then we have the supports here at the bottom. So it's a little bit of a crazy setup. You know, don't care for it too much. Well, actually, I do care for it, but you know, it's a little uneasy. I'd feel much better if we had the hoist here, but that's in my home garage. So we're gonna go ahead and give this a shot. We're not gonna necessarily walk through it, but we'll cut back when we're all set. All right. All right. So here's our stopping point for the night. So we got the aluminum bracket off that holds the motor mount in place. We got that out. We went ahead and we took out the inlet pipe for the turbo. Got that out. We were able to unbolt the starter because it's fully free. So now it's just a matter of negotiating, getting the starter out. So we were thinking two things. We could see the 3 bolts that we could bolt off the motor mount support off of the block, but we can't get to this bolt right here. So that makes that difficult. The starter. Or not the starter, the alternator. The 2 bolts with the lock carrier in full on position is pretty tricky to get to, so we may have to tilt it forward a little bit because the trouble is just getting the starter tilted and out. So that's where we're at, but we're gonna call it a night. We made some pretty good progress, so we'll pick up with you guys tomorrow. Alright guys, so it's a new day, came up with a whole new battle strategy. So what we ended up having to do is we had to actually tilt the lock carrier forward. We had to undo the accessory belt, tilt the lock carrier forward a little bit, take the alternator out in order to get the starter out. I don't know what I read. I probably did over the forum reading over the years. I really thought that that we could take out the motor mount support bracket and we were able to get the starter out. Could have sworn that was a procedure, but clearly I was wrong and I didn't feel like fighting with it anymore. Or we didn't feel like fighting with it anymore. So went ahead and did that, got the old starter out over here, somewhere over here. Trying to wrestle the new one in, but that's where we are. So we'll get this going, button this up, and it'll probably be you'll probably see another day, another change of clothes before we start this thing up again. Alright, so Ken figured out something new when he was installing the CV shaft back in. So this is the inner joint that attaches to the transmission, and we get movement from this cup here, but there's nothing coming from here. I don't know what this is particularly called, but it's not moving freely like you would a CV joint that needs all kinds of flexibility. So wondering if the balls that go inside here, if they're like perfect, if they're rounded out, or they're not perfect, or something's wrong with them. They're past their service life. I don't know. But with the kind of tightness this is, and when it was actually bolted to the car, it was given nothing. It was completely stiff. So I mean, it's too late to hypothesize, but it's possible that this could be the reason why everything grenaded, the cup on the transmission grenaded, as opposed to something internally diff-wise. If that's the case, then I guess great, right? But the solution is, I mean, ECS has this OEM reman, but for over $400. I don't know if I really want to pay that. So I'm sure there's a company called Raxels that rebuilds OEM axles, but with actual quality materials, and I believe they are out of Florida. So I'll check them out. I'll have to send them my OEM original, and they'll send me an OEM original that somebody else traded in, but we rebuilt better parts. So we'll see if that's the route we take, but change of plans, so there'll be no test drive video on this video. What we'll do is we'll finish putting the rest of the car back together, and we'll just run the motor and hear it run for the first time in probably a year and a half. So that's the course. So we'll be back when we're ready to start it. Alright, the car is as together as it's going to get. I'm going to go ahead, hop in, turn the key. I'm going to prime it a little bit first. It's full of oil. I'm going to prime it a little bit first, let the oil circulate a little bit. Then we're going to give it a full start and hope for the best. Alright, so as you guys can hear, anyone familiar with cars or Volkswagens from these generation has that squealy power steering pump that I forgot about. Oh, no, there's no tension on the ground, so you won't hear it. But you can hear it. Sounds like clearly a sticky lifter from not running in a year and a half, so I'm not overly concerned about that. It had a nasty misfire. It seems like that is settled out, but I could hear a vacuum leak. There was a vacuum leak I already knew about, so that still needs to get fixed. But yeah, overall, here it is. That
It
lifter.
smells like old gas and it's in limp mode, right?
Yeah. Yeah. We need to get this car out of limp mode too. I know the O2 sensors are as old as the car probably. I know my EGTs are bad, so that definitely has it in limp mode. So there's a lot to get this running back in tip-top road shape. But yeah. I'm happy to hear it though. I'm happy to hear it. Can't wait to get that CV shot fixed.